Good afternoon, one and all. We hope and pray that you and your loved ones are in great health. MindSpark is honored to have Mr. Vinayak Pai, Group President at Worley, on its show Quarantine Talks.
Mr. Pai is the president of Jacobs Energy Chemical and Resource Business and is a COEP alumnus. Mr. Vinayak is a past board member of the Process Plant and Machinery Association of India and the Chemtech Foundation Advisory Board. He earned a master's degree in management and business administration from the Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies and holds an executive MBA from the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. We would request Mr. Pai to commence the talk. Over to you, sir.
As Harshal said, I hope you all are safe, you and your families, and taking care of social distancing and dealing with this world, which is very different than what it was maybe a couple of months ago. But as they say, every challenge has its opportunity, and we should just ensure that we learn from these experiences. The world is going to be different coming out of this, and the more we can learn from this experience is going to help us in future. This also gives me an opportunity to connect back with COAPMs, and it's been a while. I've directly been in touch with this group. I've been active in the Alumni Association, but remotely. And this is a great opportunity for me to be talking to all of you. The topic I'm going to touch on is energy transition because it's one which is close to my heart. Especially working for a company like Worley, where a majority of the business is related to oil, gas, hydrocarbon mining, etc. But I'm very encouraged to see the trends in energy transition from traditional fossil fuel to a more sustainable energy mix. And that's very exciting for me. So we are reshaping our business globally to be cognizant of what's happening in this energy transition. It will lead to a safe, sustainable planet eventually, which is the legacy we all want to leave for the next generations. So what's energy transition? The energy transition, I'll explain on the next slide. Now, this is a busy chart which one of our customers, Shell, had come out with, but it's very interesting. The fact that since the 1900, when a lot of industrialization activity started taking place, the reliance on fossil fuel has been tremendous. Coal, it started with coal and then pivoted to oil and gas and hydrocarbons. But the renewable energy, and a lot of it was basically hydro energy, which mankind has been using for quite some time, has been very limited. Has been less than 20% of all the energy needs have been from unconventional sources. And the good thing is, in the last couple of years, I must say since 2017, I have seen the industry and the whole of mankind take more actions on the energy transition versus just talking about it. So electric cars have become more relevant now. Unconventional sources like wind, hydro, solar have become more relevant now. And the pace is accelerating. It's becoming very fast. The transition is happening very fast. And why is it happening? And I reflect on this when I looked at a nice picture which was published. It was from a particular street in New York in the year 2014. It was taken on Easter Day at the intersection of two streets. And it showed a lot of horse carts. And the caption of the picture was, "Spot the car." And there was one car and it was circled in the picture out of maybe 100 horse carts. And then the same day of the year, the same corner of the street, a picture was taken 3 years hence in 2017. Not sorry, I'm saying 1917, 3 years from 1914, and the caption of the picture was "Spot the cart," because it was full of cars and there was only one horse cart there. Now that transition happened in a space of 3 years, and why did it happen? Because the people of the city could not deal with the smell of the manure, which all these horse carts were polluting the place. So they went to electric cars. And now, a century down the line, the extent of our use has bordered on misuse. And now we are facing a similar situation where the planet, the whole of the planet, has now started realizing the ill effects of misuse of fossil fuels. And that's the reason the energy transition is rapidly accelerating. And the good thing about the energy transition is it's actually coming from the people. It's coming from people demanding of the industries and governments to take action. It's not actually coming from either the industry or the government as mandates, but it's coming from people. And that's the reason I feel this will be more sustainable and will accelerate very fast. So you will see on this chart that the prediction, even in various scenarios, is that in years to come, in the next 30 years, substantial part of the energy mix will change and will pivot to renewables. Well, this slide tries to predict what will happen. Again, it's a busy slide and you can look at all the details. I won't cover all the details, but what's relevant is that in 2033, half of the all light vehicle sales will be electric cars. And by 2042, half of the world's fleet of road vehicles, both light and heavy, will be electric. And then there is things about solar PV overtaking biomass in primary energy by 2044, and there are a lot of other events which are expected to happen. So I must say that we should all focus on making efforts, the industry like ours, people like each one of you, and of course the governments have to make efforts to stay committed to this and accelerate this process. So as I said, for me, the most important is the societal pressures, which is on the bottom right-hand side. And that's going to lead to policies and regulatory environment, regional development priorities, pressure from the investor community, as I said. So all that is part, but I believe the center of this is actually the societal pressures. And that's where you and I play a major role. So this says that as we are dealing with the energy transition, the population is also going up and the GDP is increasing. So the need for power is going to be higher. And at the same time, the emissions have to be dropped by 50% by 2040. So how do we get there? And at the bottom is just a hint for you to think. While doing all this, we also need to see how we can improve our energy efficiency. Because over a period of time, as we have developed industry, we have not focused as much on energy efficiency as we should, because the balance of viability was at a lower efficiency. That's not going to be there as we move towards a more sustainable world. So keep improving efficiencies as the demand goes up. Improve the efficiencies and then ensure rapid replacement of fossil fuel use as energy to renewable sources. And like everything, the influence also has to be in a more digital and connected world. So we have to be smart at designing and operating energy efficient new energy plants and systems digitally. It talks about how we can design and operate energy systems through a digital platform, which will again make it more efficient. How can we improve reliability on wind power? These are some of the bullets are more specific to what Worley does, so I don't want to stress too much on it. But suffice to say that as we go towards better efficiencies and a rapid transformation, the digital transformation is going to play a key role in making this work. And there are great examples in, I live in the Netherlands, and the Dutch situation is actually, Netherlands is one of the most socially aware countries where there's a lot of effort and commitment to changing the planet faster to a more sustainable planet. And there are, you'll see there are mandates like some of the largest gas field will stop producing by 2030. I mean, they have mandated that so that they can put pressure on finding alternates to that. 25% of the household free of natural gas by 2030. So more, use more renewable sources. No more combustion engine car sales after 2030. I mean, that's a very strong commitment. I mean, one of I think the strongest commitment which has been made. And I see around here the use of electric cars and hybrid cars is much higher, and people are actually using smaller cars than bigger cars, so that they are more, they spend less energy. I mean, I see the percentage of small cars here more than anywhere else in the world. Actually, it's a pride to drive a smaller car versus a bigger car. And there is a excellent grid system available for charging the cars. There are tax benefits for buying, strong tax benefits for buying a electric vehicle versus a conventional vehicle. And the last mandate is to shut down all coal-fired plants by 2030. So this actually leads the way and puts pressure on the industry. And some of the conventional organizations which have been in the hydrocarbon sector, like Shell and recently BP, have made strong announcements of being carbon neutral over a period of time, over the next 30 years. That's a strong commitment even from conventional organizations which have been based on conventional energy and hydrocarbons. So that's a shift in thinking, a rapid acceleration of the energy transition. And I'm very proud to be associated with some of, as I said, at Worley, we do projects for oil, gas, hydrocarbons, upstream, downstream, mining and minerals. But we also have power and unconventional energy practice, which we are really focusing on. It's my personal area of attention. So we are looking at clean hydrogen, how we can generate green hydrogen at improving substantially the energy mix, waste heat recovery for homes. Renewable diesel, we are doing a couple of very large projects in the US for renewable diesel, which will be used for conventional vehicles, but also jet fuel, as a jet fuel, because some of the challenges have been that there are electric cars, and eventually it will get to hydrogen as a fuel for trucks. But we have to also look at aircraft fuel, which is a substantial part of the mix. How we can be more renewable there. So the renewable diesel, which uses biomass to generate diesel, is very relevant, and we are honored to be associated with some of these projects. Electrification of assets, recycling of plastics, the circular economy, as we call it, reuse, recycle of plastics to eventually reduce the manufacture of plastics, but use more sustainable circular economy for plastics is something we are very much focused on. And carbon capture and storage, finally there will be carbon. How do we capture and store or sequester it is very relevant. And there are some projects, especially in Europe, in which we are involved. So I must say, globally the trend is rapid acceleration actually in Europe, and the other geographies following suit. So Europe from the examples of various countries, and I explained what Netherlands is doing, is actually setting the pace for this transition. I won't spend so much time on this. This is about what Worley does. We have more than 1,500 energy transition projects globally. The only one which I really feel proud of is we just completed last year 365 megawatts of solar power. So 365 turbines of 1 megawatt each. And we did that in a period of 1 year. So, 1 megawatt per day. We put up the capacity, and it took 850,000 Kenyans out of energy poverty. And you really feel proud when these type of achievements, in addition to what we do conventionally, when we add value to society and the planet as a whole. So that's really something which is special for me. We're right now working on a project in the UAE, which is 1 gigawatt of power from solar. It's one of probably the biggest solar projects on the planet right now. Yeah, again, more about some of the projects, but I don't think it's appropriate to spend more time. You can have a look at this later. But just to say that it's happening all over the world, but lot of efforts happening in Europe around that. And the project I mentioned, the photograph on the top right, where there is the tower and some of the solar panels, that's the project I mentioned, which is going to generate 1 gigawatt of solar energy. So I thank you for listening to this. I just wanted to trigger your attention and your interest, because we are substantially facing more interest from our young professionals in our business to be part of this energy transition. And I feel very encouraged by that. And we take as much effort as possible to train our young engineers in these energy transition projects and renewables, because the interest is very strong. Most of the times, I run a global business. I go around our offices doing town halls. But when I come to Europe or travel to our offices in Europe and I speak about energy transition, the whole audience just sits up, especially the younger people. And they ask so much question and they are so excited about it. And that really gives me a good feeling that the young generation is so much focused on this energy transition and how to keep the planet sustainable. And for us, it's very important that we support this and leave a legacy for the next generation. So, it's going to be a combination. I would encourage you to all, spend a little more time studying what's happening in energy transition and think about where you want to, contribute to it or potentially make a career in it.
Thank you very much, sir, for this informative talk. So moving forward, sir, there are a few questions we have gathered from our viewers whose answers we would like to hear from you. So,
Sure.
What expectations do MNCs like Worley have from young graduates?
Well, we globally focus on employing a lot of graduates. Actually, we have mandates to employ a certain percentage of graduates at most of our locations, because we want to, by choice, invest in youth. In India, we almost every year add around 150 graduates to our operations from various colleges. And I'm glad this year, for the first time, we've recruited some graduates from COAP, I'm told. That's a good beginning, because our office is in Mumbai, and conventionally we've not had a lot of success recruiting graduates from COAP, but I'm glad we have made a beginning this year. The expectation is very simple. The expectation is to get into the industry and really use your energy, your enthusiasm, and your skills to create a career for yourself. And once you create a career for yourself, the industry benefits, because we always need people more invested in the technical and scientific functions which they are going through. So I would say the expectation from graduates is to be more curious and to when you are in college, also learn about life, not only about engineering. Learn the best learning for me out of COEP was how to collaborate, how to form a team, how to achieve a result through a team versus the technical. I mean, I graduated as an electrical engineer, and by now I don't do anything in electrical engineering. I just did it for the first 5 or 6 years of my career, and then I went into project management and then leading businesses. But I learned so much in COAP about teamwork, about taking care of each other, about empathy, about forming a team which has a winning mindset. So I would say these are also very important aspects of the development of graduates and how they can think about shaping their careers and also helping the industry.
So, what have been the biggest hurdles that you have had to overcome so far?
Honestly, the biggest challenges which I've had to overcome has been to have enough confidence in myself. I always feel when people come to industry, people succeed, some people don't, and they think that, there is competition and others are trying to pull you down. And I've realized over a period of time, it's the box I put around myself about my own capabilities, which has been the biggest hurdle. For example, as I said, I'm an electrical engineer from the 1987 batch, but I went into this industry which was dominated by the hydrocarbon industry is dominated by chemical engineers and mechanical engineers. To some extent mechanical, but mostly by chemical engineers because it's process driven. Most of the times I go to many forums and people who know India ask me, which college are you from? Are you from UDCT? Are you from IIT? And I say Pune COEP, and they say, but there is no chemical in COEP. And I said, no, I'm not a chemical engineer. So I went into an industry which was very different for various reasons. It was not it was probably a compulsion rather than a choice. But when I got into it, for a long time in my career, I used to have that thought process that I am an electrical engineer. I cannot really rise in this industry. I'm going to face challenges. Many people who are successful are chemical engineers, and I can't compete with them. And that actually was the biggest hurdle for me to overcome. So I would say the biggest hurdles are within yourself. So be more confident about yourself. Don't doubt yourself and put a box about what you can or you cannot do. I mean, just the fact that you are in COEP means that each of you is good, right? So don't doubt that. And the thing is, everyone has some. What you have to focus on is you have some strengths and you have some weaknesses, and this is common for everyone. It's common for me. It's common for everyone. I mean, the most successful people and people who have not been successful. There is always a combination of the strengths and weaknesses. How do you leverage your strength and control and work on your weaknesses is where the success lies. And so, the hurdles are more in our own mind about what we can and cannot do.
So, with the current pandemic going on, how do you manage your time between working for your company and working for your family?
Well, it's an interesting it's an interesting time, I must say. So, I just before this lockdown started, I was to travel to the US, so I sent my wife back to India because I didn't want her to be stuck in Europe because the cases in Europe were going up. And the moment she went back to India in mid of March, the lockdown started. So I'm here and my wife is in Mumbai. So but at the same time, I'm making it work because you have to always look at the positives. You can't think too long term, how long I'm going to be here and what's going to happen, and that plays on your mind. So, I don't think about how long this is going to go. For me, there are two things which are pretty clear, right? That we are going to come out of it. There is no doubt about it, right? And when we come out of it, we are going to learn from this and we are going to be stronger. Now, those are just the two things I focus on, right? That when we are going to come out, how can we be stronger? So what we can do right now to learn from this experience so that we emerge stronger. I'm trying to balance the time. Actually, I typically travel a lot. As I said, running a global business across 50 countries is very difficult in terms of travel. So I'm actually traveling 75% of my time. So it's been a unique experience for me being in one time zone and one place for almost now 40 days, and I'm enjoying that because the weather is good here, and the good thing is there's no lockdown. You can go out, though you have to maintain social distancing, but then you can go out. So it's a beautiful place to go out, running, cycling. So I've increased the level of exercise I do. I've increased the level of cooking I do because I have to cook for myself. I've learned a lot in that process, which I feel good about. I would never have done without this type of compulsion. I'm sleeping much more, so I'm more healthy. And I'm working much more because I'm not don't spend time traveling to the office, traveling to the airports, being on aircraft. So I can focus on it. So you have to balance things. At the same time, I don't use all the time to work. As I said, I use my time to increase the level of exercise, read more about topics which are important and relevant to me. So I must say it's actually a different experience, but I started liking it.
So, in this fast-paced world, how can one remain motivated and stay focused or stay positive?
To motivate yourself, you need to develop a healthy and a happy attitude, and that comes from being physically healthy and mentally active, right? So I must say that I spend a lot of time taking care of physical well-being, exercise, routines, yoga, keep healthy, running, do a lot of running, and that gives you a lot of energy. Sports, play golf now, and I used to play cricket and table tennis and badminton. So it sort of brings you when you are physically active and healthy, you're more fresh and more motivated. I've found that. And second, mentally, find out what makes you happy mentally. You can't put yourself down just because of all the pressure you have to do, right? You have to find your own time. So I would say you need to find a balance. And I learned this at one of the institutes in Colorado, where they said the life is like a button, and there are 4 holes in the button. So the 4 holes represent your job or your career, or in your case, your academics. The second one is yourself. The third one is your family. And the fourth one is the society you live in, right? And the time you spend on all 4 have to be balanced like the holes of a button, right? Sometimes it's not possible. For example, during exam times, one of your, education one or your academic one has to be bigger. But overall, you have to find a balance of the 4. So, spend time on yourself. Keep yourself physically and mentally active. That's going to be very important. You don't realize it now. You are young. You are doing sports. But look at people who have been out of college for 5 or 6 years. You see them putting on weight and not being as active. So be aware of that. So spend time on yourself, right? Spend time with your family. That's going to be very important because very soon world will change in terms of where you go. You may be away from family. So spend as much time with family as you can right now. And then society, we owe it back to the society. Things like energy transition I spoke about. It's about giving back to society. And there are so many other things we can do in India and we continue doing in terms of, investing back in society. So when you have this balanced outlook in life, you'll find that, you don't have to look for external motivation. It'll be internal to you.
Finally, sir, what memories of COEP do you cherish the most?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, I've very, very fond memories. Actually, COEP made me. I came from Mumbai to do engineering in Pune, and I fell in love with the city. And, COEP was a big part of that. So I actually went back to work in Pune after working in Mumbai for 3 or 4 years. And I spent 17 years living in Pune. So I have very, very fond memories of COEP and Pune. But the first memory of COEP is always the boat club. Though I never was a rower, but that's the first thing which was unique to COEP, and there are a lot of memories of the boat club. I saw recently the regatta which took place just 2 or 3 months ago, and I saw the clip of my good friend and batchmate Commodore Ashish Kulkarni speaking at that event. So very fond memories of spending time with our colleagues at the boat club. And I still remember the mechanical department, the Babcock boiler, the way we used to wear a boiler suit and go through it. Those are some of the memories. And the hostel and the mess, those memories. And a lot of them. I mean, spending time in the hostel, and then the movies. We didn't have multiplexes in those days, so Saturday afternoon matinees at Mangala was pretty special, and then some of the English movies and Rahul, uh, great memories. And then all the organizing gatherings, being part of uh, Firodia, Purushottam Karandak and all that stuff. I mean, it's, the elections, uh, the GMGS and all that stuff. Blowing memories, and really made us, each one of us.
Thank you, Mr. Pai, for spending a part of your valuable time with us. This talk has been very informative and inspiring. Would you like to share any message before we conclude the talk?
You have all great, tremendous potential within yourselves. Uh, Find that spark in yourself. Focus on the good things in life and the bright parts of life. Yes, the dark parts will come, the downs will come. Deal with that with courage, as which you will have. Develop that courage, that internal courage, and more important, work with your teams. Learn how you can. As I said, when I say boat club or I say Firodia or Purushottam, I was never an actor, or I had no inclination, or I was not good at playing any instrument or any type of arts. But I used to be around there. I was never a rower because I didn't know swimming, but I was around there. And those are life experiences which are unique. Don't lose that opportunity in these 4 years. Don't, your social media and your late night, chats and movies, or, whatever you do on, I have a 27-year-old. I know that, you spend a lot of time late evenings on, lot of electronic stuff. But that personal connect which you have with, your batchmates, or the whole of COEP, and those relationship you develop and what you can learn from each other is a unique opportunity which you will not have in future. All that electronic stuff and gadgets will remain in future, but that touch is so critical for you in these 4 years. To spend time on that, and that is going to teach you a lot, and that's going to make you into someone very different. You all will be different in times to come, but you have to use this opportunity to develop those relations and learn from this. So like me, you will have fond memories and friends going forward.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, this brings us to the end of our talk. We hope to come up with more such talks and keep you productive during this lockdown.